Hi, Max from Enactivate here, and today I'd like to talk about depression and anxiety. So as a teenager, 13, 14, 15 especially, I had severe anxiety and I was suffering from depression. And everybody's story is going to be a little bit different, but I wanted to share with you some of what I experienced and how I came through that experience and came out the other side of that experience in the hopes that that may benefit someone who's watching this today. As a teenager, I was trying to fit in, trying to be popular. I think this is pretty normal for most teenagers or for most human beings, even just to try to want to be liked, to want to be popular, and to want to fit in. And in order to try to achieve that, I was always analyzing and always thinking about what would be the right thing to say, the cool thing to say, the how could I come across in a positive light. And I was always trying to analyze whether or not I was coming across in a positive light, whether or not I was being, people were liking me or not liking me, or how was I coming across. So I'm thinking about this constantly. And even not just while I'm with people, but after school or after some kind of social interaction had finished, I was then analyzing this and trying to think about how I could have done it better or how I could have done it differently. So rather than just being kind of spontaneous and natural, I got myself into this state where I was always overthinking everything and always trying to figure out the best way or the right way to do it. And the more that I did that, the more that I lost contact with the spontaneity of the moment or the people interacting with the people around me. And the more I was kind of withdrawing into my own mental space, trying to figure it out. And the belief that I had was if I could just kind of figure it all out in my mind, I would be able to find an answer or a solution. But that never happened. That doesn't happen. The more we analyze what's happening, the more we try to think about how others are perceiving us and how to shift that perception so that we are perceived favorably. The more that we do that, the more we become trapped in our own analysis process in our own minds, and we kind of withdraw, even though maybe we don't realize that's what's happening at the time, but we withdraw our presence from the moment and our spontaneity. We withdraw that and we withdraw into our own mental hall of mirrors. And as we do that, we become more and more anxious, and we feel more depressed, because human connection, authentic, spontaneous human connection, is one of the most important things for human well-being and for feeling good about yourself. And the more that we isolate ourselves in our own little mental prison, in a sense, the less we feel connected with others, the more isolated we feel, and it's very easy to feel depressed in that state. And anxiety and depression often come together because we are just feeling so anxious about everything that's happening and trying to do it the right way, or trying to just come across in a positive light. But there's so much mental energy being expended on that process. We're just generating all of this anxiety inside ourselves. Now, for me, this really reached a head came to a head when I was 15 years old, and I felt super anxious to the point where I wasn't sleeping. I created a kind of my own insomnia because I was always thinking about stuff, analyzing stuff, trying to figure it all out. And a lot of times I just wouldn't sleep at all. I'd be thinking about stuff all night and I wouldn't sleep. And then I was tired, super anxious, depressed, and that affected my performance at school. Was terrible. I was getting involved in a lot of crime, like petty crime, shoplifting, all kinds of stuff. And when I was in the absolute height of all of this anxiety and depression, I started going to raves. And that was a release valve. That was a way for me to just kind of let my hair down and really just be spontaneous, even though it was for a very short period of time and it was dependent on certain circumstances being right. It was still a great release valve for me. So I would go to these raves, dance, take a pill, and I had a good time there. The problem was it wasn't a real long-term solution. It was a very temporary solution. Now, I still believe for me, overall, it was a very positive experience because it helped me release a lot of pressure that I had built up inside myself, inside my nervous system. I'm not saying that's right for everyone. I'm not saying you should do that, shouldn't do that. That was just what was happening. So I was going to these raves. At one of these raves, I had a deep aha moment. I had this epiphany. And the epiphany in my own mind went something like this. This feeling, this positive, happy feeling that I'm feeling in this rave is not part of this rave, and it's not part of this pill that I'm taking. This feeling is already inside of me, and this scenario that I'm putting myself in this rave is triggering this feeling of euphoria and well-being, but it's only a catalyst, the environment I was in. So I realized there must be a way to trigger this naturally, to trigger this sense of euphoria, of well-being, spontaneity, and just being comfortable with what was happening in that moment without over-analyzing and overthinking everything. I realized there must be a way to trigger that. So at the same time, I had an idea just kind of shot into my mind that I could go for a walk in the forest and I could sit quietly and try to trigger this emotion, this feeling of well-being. The next day, this is after the rave, it's a really good rave. The next day, I went for a walk in these very woods. This is the town that I grew up in Leeds, in the Hollies. I went for a walk. Walking and being in nature are going to counteract anxiety and depression. Moving the body, using the body, being outside in nature entrains the brain and body into an alpha frequency. So it's already hitting onto something with this idea that I should go for this walk in nature. And after walking for some period of time, I sat down. I don't know whether it was this very spot, but it was in this area of the woods. I sat down in front of an old oak tree, as I have right now behind me. And I closed my eyes and I started to tune in to my breath. This was just instinctive. I didn't have a teacher. I didn't have any special methods. I just sat down, I closed my eyes, and I started to become aware of my breathing. And as I did this, I started to feel calm within. I started to feel a sense of well-being and just ease within. Now, it wasn't that I didn't have any resistance to this. There was a part of me that was saying, what are you doing? This is stupid. Why would you close your eyes? It could be, someone could come. I had something within me that was resisting this process, but I was very aware at this point in my life that I was very unhappy. I was depressed. I was anxious. I wasn't comfortable with who I was. I actually hated myself. And that desperation in a way gave me the determination to try something new. And I'd had this idea at the rave, so I just sat down, I'm breathing. This wasn't a long period of time, this was like 5-10 minutes, and I just felt calm. I felt at ease. I felt, for the first time in many years, just comfortable to be me, and actually good being me. That was the beginning for me. It wasn't immediately that everything was solved and perfect, but it was the beginning of this process of shifting my brain and body out of anxiety and depression and rediscovering the spontaneity and the joy of life. And through this project at Enactivate, I want to share with people techniques, methods to assist anyone in the process of learning how to connect with their breath, learning how to calm the brain and the body, and learning how to become comfortable with yourself and to reach a point where there's a genuine love and appreciation of life and of the moment. We can all achieve that. We can all achieve that, but it does take some time. It does take some practice to be able to trigger, to be able to bring within yourself this deep sense of calm and well-being and ease of just being. This is something that I've worked on for over 3 decades on myself, and developing very simple, easy methods to share with other people so that they can connect with that inner sense of well-being through the breath. This is what this channel is all about. If you've enjoyed this video, give us a like and a subscribe. I hope this helps someone, and I'll see you in the next video.